This morning's inflation data showing egg prices surging in January, up 15.2% month over month and 53% from a year ago. The spread of bird flu is expected to keep prices high. The USDA forecasting prices rising another 20% this year. Joining us now to discuss the outlook for the egg industry, we've got Tom Flocco, the CEO of egg producer Pete and Gerry's. Thank you so much for joining us this morning, Tom. We've seen grocery stores, including Costco, Trader Joe's, limiting customers' egg purchases as supply continues to become a concern. Given that and the inflationary pressure that was made clear this morning, how are you thinking about prices right now?
Well, good morning. Thank you for having me. Yeah, certainly this is an unprecedented time in the space, but I want to make sure people understand there's a difference between eggs and eggs. We are a premium egg. Pete and Gerry's and Nellie's are premium eggs. Our price actually to the retailer hasn't changed since last year. It actually hasn't changed probably in the last 18 months. What's really making the news is the price of commodity eggs, what we call conventional or well eggs that are either caged or cage-free. Their price is driven much more by supply and demand. Our price is driven more by just an agreed-to price to the retailer that doesn't move around based on supply and demand. And those are the birds that have really been, unfortunately, affected by avian influenza. So as over 10% of their supply chain has been taken out from avian influenza, that's just reduced the supply of eggs, which in turn drives up the price to the retailer and then ultimately to the end consumer.
Tom, have you at all been impacted by it?
We've had a couple of barns that have been hit, but we have over 5 million, close to actually 6.5 million birds in our network, spread out over 250 odd farms, and we're in 15 states. So we don't have the same concentration in our supply chain that a traditional, conventional, caged or cage-free player has in theirs, where there are several 100,000 or millions of birds on one campus. So if that campus gets infected, all those birds unfortunately need to be taken out in order to control the spread of the flu. We've had 20 to 40,000 barns hit, 20 to 40,000 bird barns hit, which is a very small portion of our total supply. So it has not affected our ability to keep our customers in stock. What has affected it is the fact that now a lot of those conventional cage and cage-free eggs that are typically much lower price, $2 to $3 more a dozen than ours, they're actually at parity or in fact, some cases higher price than ours. So it makes it easier for the consumer to grab our eggs. So once our eggs hit the shelf, they're unfortunately scooped up very quickly. I mean, it's fortunate for us, but I know there are supply challenges all around the country on our eggs. That's that demand profile that you're seeing. I want to make sure people understand too that cage-free is not the same as free range. Our birds are either free range or pasture raised. They have access to the outdoors. Every one of our birds has access to the outdoors. Cage-free birds do not. So when you talk about the hen welfare, just the quality of the egg experience, and we know that eggs right now are a very popular source of protein. It's the right cost profile. It's the right impact on the environment. Eggs are very popular. And when people see the opportunity to get free range or pasture raised for the same, if not lower price than conventional, they're going to grab it.
So Tom, walk me through real quick just the pricing strategy then that you are able to navigate, because it still sounds like it's a challenging environment. If you're hit at least to any degree in terms of volumes or your ability to produce, and you don't have that leverage in order to pass along any higher price or any price increase to the consumer, how do you then navigate that?
Well, we have the leverage. I mean, we could be raising price. If a barn or two was hit, we could turn around and say, hey, our supply was affected. We've elected not to do that. We don't think that's the right thing to do for the retailer and for the end consumer. We want to keep our prices steady and reflect a good everyday value for the consumer as an affordable, high quality source of protein. That's our objective. Our company was really built actually on two foundations. One is hen welfare. The second is that protecting that family farm. So we take a long-term view and don't want to be opportunistic in taking pricing when there's a chance to do that.
I'd be remiss to not ask you about some news. 100,000 eggs stolen from your farm in Pennsylvania worth $40,000 from the back of a truck. I know that you're litigating that, so you can't talk about it directly, but just curious if you can talk about your strategy as a leader coming out of that and any hit that could have to your balance sheet, as maybe you have insurance costs going up off the back of that or security costs going up off of that. Can you talk about it from a 30,000-foot view perspective?
Yeah, I can't say a lot about it because it's an ongoing investigation. But what I can say is really two things. One, to put it into perspective, we've heard 100,000 eggs. That's 8,000 dozen. There are 24,000 dozen roughly eggs on a truck. So it was a third of a truck. We ship thousands of trucks a year. So it was not a meaningful hit to our supply and to our retail partners. It's unfortunate. We wish it didn't happen, but it did happen. We put in additional security measures to make sure it doesn't happen again. But that's really about all I can say about that.
All right, Tom Flocco, we appreciate you taking the time to join us here, CEO of Pete & Gerry's.
Thanks for having me.